Okay, call recording.
I heard it.
Thanks a lot, Eric. So this is why I'm surrounded by geniuses to join me today to make these a great webinar series that anyone can watch later. So thanks for that, Eric. If you just joined us right now, we're hopping on to the fourth and final session of our COVID-19 webinar series. It's been really a journey to go through from a lot of different angles. We've had a couple other guest speakers as well, but to go through what's going on in a smartphone addicted society that we're in, and to find out if there's any changes in expectations, if things are going to stay the same or different, and just track that and see if we can come up with some high value strategies and insights right from within our industry. So that's why we brought in some speakers. I want to say a thanks to the previous two. On session one, we had Rob from Solid Start. Thanks, Rob, if you're listening today. I hope you got to join us again. Also, a thanks to Chris DeWolf, formerly with All Data. He brought us a great perspective from the OEM and the dealership side. That was an important perspective. I think helps us. Sometimes we get locked in on just the auto repair side, but there's a lot going on as far as the cycle of where a customer begins. Where does the vehicle owner even begin with repair? And it typically begins at the F&I department when they sign that paperwork. So that was great. We're going to again, I get to be kind of the host of this webinar series, but it turns out where we just have a conversational style. I'll be asking Eric some questions from the medical side and just industry related across the board. Then Mike's going to follow up about a 10, 15-minute session. He will, I think you guys are going to be blown away. He has some checklists that when I've seen them used, they can, when implemented, I think Mike's going to touch on that later, but we're talking thousands of dollars a month, either in savings or boosted revenue by following these checklists and getting that implemented in your shop. So I'll be excited. Thanks. I'll say a big thanks then, but just for Mike sharing that information from his coaching group is amazing. So here we're going to get going. So you've already seen it that I missed a few things along the way. I probably have one or two strengths. One of them is mobile apps. I love to show this. That's me in white, looking cool. And here we go. At this time, that's me in black. And the guy in white kicking this time is Mike Cost with Elite Worldwide Coaching Group. And that's why I've got him here. He's a guy who, if you're going to be talking from a coaching and management perspective, which I have a 0% experience in, that's Mike. So thank you, Mike, for being that guy today for our audience. We're going to have a moment here to jump into almost I don't want to use the word fear, but we did have that in there. That's what we covered in part 3. And so it ties into today. We were talking about if social distancing, if there's going to be any lingering fears, what will that do? Will things stay the same? Will they get changed? So Eric, we're going to get going in a couple questions with you.
Sure.
Here's kind of the question that we threw out there that you and I were talking about was how the adoption of remote consumer actions continue to trend upward. And so here's Eric. Just a quick, before we get into your answers, Eric, just to give you a quick introduction again. Enviromedical, this is a company that's been all over the news. They're the ones helping really with the emergency rooms, right, Eric? The intensive care units with the ventilators right from Vyaire. So,
yeah, ventilators. We've over the course of the last few months, are upwards of 22,000 ventilators around the U.S. So we've been a pretty essential part to helping treat COVID-19 patients. So
is that out the door? 22,000 out the door, headed to hospital. Wow.
Yep.
Wow. It sounds huge. I don't know the numbers, but that's you guys are busy. So thanks, Eric, for taking your time. I know you guys are busy. So, and then we'll get, like I mentioned, we're going to have Mike from that coaching operations side, how to train staff to embrace the remote tools. So whatever your workflow is, whatever checklist you're using, Mike's going to give us his insights on that. Here's Mike. I've seen it labeled this way all over the place. He's a world-class business coach. Mike, would you like to say hi to our audience?
Hi, everybody. Nice to see you.
Yeah, and we talked about you as a former shop owner. Can you just in a 30-second recap give us your shop owner experience side?
Yeah, for 25 years I owned various shops And after 25 years, I had the opportunity to get into business coaching with Elite Worldwide, and it's been a blessing. And it's fun to work with shop owners in helping them build, create systems and build their business. There's always so much growth opportunities within each business, and it's fun to pull that out of them and help them see success.
Yeah. And Mike, you said it's been a blessing for you. It's been a blessing for me. We were just talking about before the call, back to we were deciding on the year, maybe 2008, we had an opportunity to work together. And staying connected to you has brought great value for my company and how we do development. So often I'll hear what a shop owner says, but to hear something from a former shop owner, someone who kind of got out of his own business and was able to work on it, seems to be a perspective that I've really valued, Mike, through the years. So thank you for that. And if you're not introduced, and Mike, you could maybe give us a little bit of a recap as well on Elite. You're part of the Elite Worldwide Coaching Group. Can you walk us through what that would mean for a shop if they found you guys?
Yeah, well, we have a coaching program, and there's about 17 different coaches, and there's also a sales training program. So people join, align with Elite in the coaching process for various reasons. Some is to for recruiting help, marketing help, transitioning into a second or third location, advice and coaching on that, and also exit strategies in selling their business, all types of different things that come up. So it's not just one thing. There's various areas that we help with in the business.
Yeah, and is it only auto repair shops?
Only auto repair, yep.
Okay.
So we were looking at years of experience with all the coaches currently, and it was over 800 years of experience. Each coach is pretty much a award-winning business owner. Everybody has had a business, and a few still do, and had the opportunity to retire, some early, as early as 40, 45 years old, just with the right process and systems in place and being successful. So we do everything we can to help other shop owners see that success and attain it.
Yeah. Well, and this is on a real selfish note, but almost humorous. I'm thankful you only do auto repair shops, Mike, because when you give me all that coaching advice, it's free because I'm a mobile app developer. So I feel like if we were a shop, I would have already had some. We'd have a working relationship there. But so thanks. Yeah, that's amazing. 800 years of coaching experience coming from this group. So if you think that's you, and you want to find a way to get an exit plan, maybe get out of that day-to-day business operations, and you think it would take a coach to help you be accountable or to just give you ideas maybe that you've had in your head, consider, and I'll have Mike's contact information up there again. Consider reaching out to Mike. I know it's not right off the gates you have to commit your entire life to them. Just start with a friendly conversation with Mike and see how it goes, right, Mike?
Yeah, exactly. See if we can help meet the needs.
Okay, so we will be progressing along here through. There we go. Eric, we're going to get to your questions now.
Sure.
How would you say, and we're going to have some statistics pulled up on screen that you provided for me, but how do consumer digital interactions, how do you see them increasing in your industry and then it lapping over into ours?
Yeah, so kind of being on the front line with medical equipment, first of all, I'm not a physician or a clinician, but I've been doing the medical equipment sales, working with hospitals and ICU units for over 20 years. And the changes every single year of especially the last 5 years, have gone so much more to contactless, more digital. And I work directly with the University of Washington with their fleet of ventilators and ICU, and so I see these people, on a weekly basis, and they are telling me that they're trying to take things even more to an even higher level of remote care, which is, so nurses and doctors are even just monitoring all of the equipment from outside the patient room. That's new. It used to be they just wanted the data and on the screens. Now even the staff are trying to be remote, even into the room, and all of the ventilator information is getting pushed actually out to consoles and to iPads, the doctor's phone directly. That just kind of keeps going next level every single year. So.
Right, and you said you're working with the University of Washington. Is that how you found the statistic in the news here about the?
Yeah. So.
Is that?
Yeah. So I was just talking with a respiratory therapist, and they were talking. So they saw a real, the last month things had really kind of died down here in Washington State, but now that things are starting to open up, people are getting more social, more active. It's starting to climb back up again, and they're preparing for this to last for the next 6 months because we don't have any vaccines. Treatments are getting better, but still the number of hospitalizations, which is really what they track, the number of cases infected is important, but really it's how many people get hospitalized, and those numbers are what make them nervous and keep them up at night, getting prepared for that to just kind of continue. So
yeah, and with you being on the capital investment side, right, this isn't something they can just fix overnight, right? Like
no.
It takes time to get the, maybe the equipment delivered, and
we're about a 4 to 6 month rolling time frame for these hospitals to get up to speed. So they needed to be up to speed with some of this equipment, 3 months ago. They're just now starting to get some of those things in place, but no, it's continuing to invest to make sure that they've got the right equipment for you and I both when or if the time comes. So.
And Mike, I think later when we, not to speak too much ahead to one of your checklists, but on a technology stack, I don't think we have to lose hope, right? Let's say everything turns remote and much more so remote permanently. Wouldn't you say that most of our shops have the tools to pull off remote services?
Yeah, the communication side of things, through presenting estimates and whatnot, there is a lot of software, and we are seeing many shops have that software. They just got to, be able to use it consistently and have a process of how to use it so the customer really understands.
Yeah. And Eric, back to, you pulled this out. Who's Fair Health, by the way? When you provide this statistic, I didn't know who that was.
Yeah, so their company. So basically, with this, I don't know. You say ParaHealth, where I got that article off of. So there's a lot of telehealth companies. I was following on LinkedIn, and this company was studying how telehealth has been around for a very long time, but hospitals used it as, well, this is just convenient, right? And until the last 3 months. Now they realize this is a mandatory to be able to service our customers and for people to be able to get the health information they need, talk to a physician, and some of the things they're realizing is this is actually way more efficient than our old way of doing business. So not only is this amazing for helping stop the spread of the pandemic and getting all these sick people close together again, but the efficiencies that they're finding from this have absolutely catapulted. That's why they're seeing a 400% increase in telemedicine. Yes, this helps with the pandemic, but the efficiencies that they're finding in the system is invaluable. So this is definitely a piece that's here to stay. That's not a temporary thing at all.
Yeah, and you said 400%, Eric, but right, that article 4,000.
Yeah, did I say 400? 4,000? Yeah, 4,000% increase.
So,
yeah.
to me, that either means there wasn't really that much telehealth going on previously, right, to get this number. But either way, I would love to know this number for our industry, Mike, wouldn't you? I mean, to know how much of it, and maybe you guys have a number at Elite, but I was wondering how much of your average just 50 cars a week now is considered a remote or touchless experience versus prior pandemic. And have you guys been tracking that? Just curious. I haven't found anything on that.
No, we haven't been measuring it. You know, it
Okay.
just kind of happened real fast, you know, with things coming on, and
Yeah.
yeah.
It is. Do you know if there's a field of any kind in the shop management systems that allow a shop to notate that this was this type of delivery of service?
From start to finish, like no contact, I don't think there is at this point.
Okay. Well, I wrote that down, Mike, when I was taking notes last night for myself. I go, that's actually an interesting thing to be tracking now in software, is to track what, you know, because if we're interested in things like repair order average, is to know, does it differ? Do we actually get more? Because here's where that idea came from. I went back to an old email I read from a shop I know up in Wisconsin, and he told me that they actually have been tracking their repair order average on customers that are not in the lobby is higher than customers that wait in the lobby.
Sure.
Have you heard that confirmed anywhere?
I think through the years, I think it's known that number is greater.
Okay.
You know, that, you know, when people are waiting, they get a little more anxious and antsy to leave.
Yep.
And not as receptive to do all the repair work.
Okay.
Looking at it as no contact from start to finish, I don't think there's any numbers in that area that I'm aware of.
Okay. Well, I made a note of that. You know, one of these days when we announce to the world we've got a DVI, that'll be something that we want to make sure is part of that number. So at least you can compare and say, hey, maybe we should push all of our customers to this, not because it's maybe just for the health reasons. Like you said, Eric, it actually turns out it's more efficient. And
yep.
I think if we follow the money, this was staggering to me, the amount of money. I can't believe that's in billions, but what we're spending to move to a virtual care model. So
the investment is there because the return is already predicted to be there based on how efficient they are. Less staff is needed. They're able to get to people much quicker and actually get through more appointments and more consultations absolutely quicker. Pharmacies the same way, and you know, right now what they're showing there is, like even I'm with Kaiser Healthcare. You know, if I want an appointment, I have to use the app. If you make a phone call to them, they'll direct you back to the app to set up an appointment, because you can put in notes directly to your doctor, and the doctor usually responds within a couple hours. Where in the past, if I had to wait just even for a response on why I was requesting the appointment, you know, that might be next week when I finally get in, or all these kind of things. Whereas I can get a tele appointment within, you know, a couple of days and talk and actually have notes corresponding with the doctor within an hour. So the efficiency.
Eric, I'm glad you said that part about you might have to wait a couple hours, or the old way maybe was a week. I have a gut feeling I'm going to share later in this webinar when we release the vehicle owner survey statistics. But what you just said confirms it. So I think that'll wrap up nicely here in about 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Because we have survey results from vehicle owners specifically in our industry that will talk to a little bit of this, at least from their perspective. So, Eric, if the money's going there, it must be a prediction that these types of models are here to stay. And this quote,
besides all the benefits of like efficiency and protection of patients and families, it just also just our, you know, the consumer training, right? Like we're all getting used to the digital world and remote sign-in of your, you know, on your phone. Like my son and I we donated blood at the Puget Sound Blood Bank the other day. We got there, we had to take a picture of a QR code and then sign all of the release forms from my phone, because they didn't want us touching the clipboard. They didn't want us touching a pen that they would have to sanitize.
Oh, where was that? Where was that QR code? I'm a QR code junkie. Where was that? Was it on a sign?
They had a sign right by the check-in desk as you came in. So they just pointed you to this. So there was somebody sitting at a desk with a computer. No, they're like, here's your code on that sign right there. Take a picture and do your sign in. So
well, You remember, Eric, in the last session, I found some of those photos. I think this is exciting. Just ideas that we could use rather than the X's, right, every 6 feet.
Yep.
Put a circle with your QR code that you stagger, people waiting in line, and they've got something to do every 6 feet. Maybe it's your member program or, whatever it is. You have these unique links. Maybe they were waiting outside at 1X and then inside at 1X and have this neat little floor decal. So they weren't there yet, but they had it on the sign on the counter. So that's.
Yep. Yeah, they didn't have entertaining me on my way to the front. Luckily, there was no line. I got to go straight to the check-in. But yeah, that was awesome to be able to. And so the check-in was like so much quicker than having to sit down with a clipboard and everything. I just was able to do it real quick on my phone, and it was the training of that behavior. If we're able to do that inside of healthcare, that's going to be just exponential in every other service industry out there. So
yeah. Well, and possibly for government warnings, it might just be the way we do things. So how do you? Yeah. I think there's always a danger though in. Oh yeah! Wow! Look at this. I forgot we had this one, Eric. You shared how much of these changes are not going away. Is that that half of this isn't going back?
Inside of healthcare, I'll bet you that there's going to be 80% that doesn't go backwards. The remote, the distancing, the protection over cross contamination. This afternoon I'm headed to a hospital for an appointment, and when you walk in the front door, they actually have a digital scanner that scans your temperature as you come in to protect it, and then I have to check in again with their app as a vendor. They track me throughout the hospital on my app to make sure I'm where I'm supposed to be. And those are things that are never going to be unwound. In fact, every new step of precaution that has been put in place, going to more electronics in the 20 years I've been in healthcare, not a single one of those have ever backed off. Like if they've implemented something new, they just built on it and kept going forward. So, I don't expect hardly any of those to go backwards.
Okay. Well, Mike, I think that's going to be on our industry then, that tech companies, whatever your tool is, Bolt-on, Mitchell, Nate, we've got to find ways to work together, because to make that process from the customer check-in all the way to the customer checkout, plus the experience outside the shop, how do we get all those strengths amongst those different tech players to come together nicely, right? So a shop doesn't feel like they've got too much overlap. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I guess right now there's some pretty good systems out there. They'll probably have to get refined to meet a lot of the needs. Just to make it more personable and to create relationships, they probably have to have some type of video, I'm thinking, that would go with your presenting estimate, so you can see who you're talking to, because I think that would build more trust than just over the phone. So a Zoom conferencing or some type of program that could go with Auto Vitals or Bolt-on or your POS system, that could be coming soon, where that's implemented in the process.
Yeah, you mean actually built into their estimator tool, right? Like maybe you could just have your video going while you're sharing the estimate with your customer, like that?
Exactly. Audio, video. So, it's just like today, we can see each other, or people can see us at least. That puts more of a personal touch to it, more of a connection, make it more real. And I think that builds a credibility as well when you're talking to a customer about what's wrong with their vehicle. Then, because we're used to being face-to-face, a long time ago. Then it got a little more distant, and now it's, in the last 3 months, has gotten a whole lot more distant in a lot of places, East Coast, West Coast, more so.
Yeah. Well, to wrap up this section with you, Eric, and I'll pose this question to both of you, but Eric, I could see you, I think you might have had a little time to think about this one. If we're tracking digital interactions as far as those personal touch points between, the advisor or the doctor and the patient, or in our case, advisor and the vehicle owner, what do you see happening as far as the ability to damage a relationship if you don't do that right. And that could be posed to both of you, but what were your thoughts on that, Eric?
Wow, that's a deep question. I think if you bungle it, things can go off the rails pretty quickly for you. And I think if you don't have some of those features to be able to interact and work with the customer in that same way of contactless, but also those efficiencies and the way that they're used to wanting to be serviced and set up those things, I think you're going to really do yourself a big disservice. I mean, you're going to have people that won't come back or people that won't even try you in the first place just because you're actually harder to do business with compared to everything else that they're used to doing in their daily life, from Amazon shopping to their healthcare. You know, if it's easy, here's the thing, if it's easier for them to actually get in front of and talk to a physician, which we all know how difficult that is, if that's easier than getting into talk to your service at your auto shop, then that's going to be a big hurdle to overcome. I mean, because traditionally healthcare is the most cumbersome pain in the butt thing to get in front of your doctor. There's all, about waiting rooms from, 2-month appointments. So the fact that healthcare is moving to a much more efficient and clean model is just going to have an effect on everything else that we do. So. Okay.
I think that's well said. Yeah, if the physical contact is still easier, then something's wrong with our remote tools.
Yeah, exactly. So.
Yeah. So, Mike, thanks for jumping in on Eric's portion too, but I like to always find a way to connect industries, and thanks for that part. We're going to jump into questions that Mike and I have reviewed together. He's got, Mike, you have a wealth of knowledge. I've seen you put together like scripts, checklists, workflows, many of those things, and you're being helpful enough here to share a couple of those. I'm going to start off with, as you do training with staff, what do you recommend for, say, phone scripts or even in over-the-counter scripts? What's your recommendation there?
Well, to start with, what we do at Elite is we have podcasts that train phone skills. So every member of the staff who answers the phone is answering it the same way. There's a consistency to your brand. So to start with, we have a phone script, and we advise to put it by the phone so people build that habit of answering the phone and having your brand look professional.
Right.
And then also have ways through your phone system to record and listen to make sure that your staff is answering the phone professionally and the way you want. So you can, there's a lot of lost calls on the phone.
Right.
Due to not properly trained people. So the phone scripts really help increase car count over time and create a better brand.
Right. And Mike, I've seen you do this before. And by the way, here's one of Mike's checklists that kind of comes out of the Elite group. Mike kind of put his name on this one, though, as far as, and this will be available, by the way. There's going to be 2 of these. We're going to have a download link after the webinar. So you don't have to try to take notes real fast, or maybe you want to anyways, but this will be an available download. So thanks, Mike. But I could see there's spots in here. This is a customer workflow that you created where maybe a script could be worked in there, right? Almost like you could, look through these 4 spots, the welcome, the estimate, the actual servicing, and then what you call the delivery process. I love that word. I always call it checkout, but I like that kind of Elite car delivery process. It seems, Mike, right, that if someone followed this checklist, they should have some scripts in the training section, right? Scripts that they could insert into these different parts that as you go through the training. Is that how you use them?
Yeah, exactly. Like if you get a new service advisor, or for me, when I start working with a new client, one of the things that I see is very important is a consistency, that every customer that comes through the door or virtual is helped in the same way. So there's a consistency. And this, we kind of put the checkbox here, so someone who's starting to make sure that they're, hitting each point. this is a generic. Some businesses have a little different model, but this is generically what should be done on with every customer.
Yeah.
So
now, my nature as I look at a checklist like this, Mike, is to go, well, I'm thankful I don't have a coach looking over my shoulder because I don't do 9 out of 10 of these, so I feel like sometimes these sorts of things to get implemented well, maybe having that accountability partner, right, or someone you trust in business, or maybe, an elite coach, for example, because otherwise, like if it's me, I'm just going to skip over this because I get, oh, no one's watching, no one's noticed that I haven't checked off these 8, or even the advisor. So I guess what kind of micromanaging is necessary, or how does that go between the owner and his staff, because they have that same reluctance, right, to follow the check boxes? What's your general rule of thumb there on that micromanagement level?
Well, I don't think it's so much a reluctance as 2 things that I see come into it is they're learning the process, or they don't really have a process. Everybody's doing it a little different, where this again creates the consistency. It also helps, you have the owner should have a shop meeting with the service advisors, and here is a process, and here's how we can start to use it. Is, when you can use it, at the front end with the customer and just check the boxes as you go through the processes, or at the end with the customer, or at the end of the day, how are you doing? Some type of a scorecard. Just again, so the processes are being consistent. But I haven't had too many clients that have a written process for all of these. For example, capturing email addresses.
Right.
Most shops are probably anywhere from 30 to 60%. Well, that affects your customer retention of reaching back out, because that's one of the most widely used, email and text.
Right.
So, and just the awareness of on one piece of paper what all the processes should be, at least minimally.
Yeah. I found now, Mike, just where I get value from this, being an app developer, I look at this list, and what I'm trying to do, and as I guide some development we're working on, we're trying to find how many of these boxes we can actually get the customer to take. That's how I view this list, because we're trying to get that branded kiosk on their smartphone. So like when I walked into Sports Clips, man, you should have seen me a couple weeks ago, Sasquatch. But when I walked into Sports Clip, if I was looking at their checkbox list, I actually did about 50% of their work. And I almost enjoyed, just because I'm an app guy, I enjoyed it. It was almost easier. I already had my signed in information. It was easy to click check in. I got an instant wait time right on my phone. So that's how just kind of to clue you in, Mike, on why I've gotten great value from these lists, is we kind of build off of that and say, the less we can have the advisor be responsible for, to have them take the steps and maybe miss them, is let's see if we can find a way to entice the vehicle owner to take the steps, either through convenience, either maybe because we gamified it, we made it a little bit fun, maybe, or maybe we added some extra member perk value, but something like that. So that's why when I look at this, I love how, Mike, when you and I talk, you kind of give that, well, here's the shop owner perspective and how to train, how to get it done, how to follow it up. So, and then, of course, the longer I know you, the better it is for our development cycle. So I'm going to move on here, Mike, to our second question. Out of that checklist, and you're training that staff, can you speak to us a bit about what are the concise actions and steps that you would recommend? Meaning, if the advisor was pushing the customer to take some action or step, what are just some of those?
Oh, it's kind of twofold, because what we noticed early on when this virus hit is when people went to no contact, there were some customers that didn't feel comfortable with the no contact. There were probably 20% they're not used to. 80% from what I've heard in the industry, really liked it. And I think it was a time savings for them. And so if there was a way where they could check a box, or they could tell us, do they want it through an app or a way to make it convenient where they just check a box or kiosks where they fill in their information, or do they still want to have that communication? I think they need to have it both ways for that 10, 20% that still want it that way. And a lot of times that's 55 and older crowd, I think. They're not as tech savvy. Yeah. And the technical side of it needs to be pretty spot on where it's going to work. Their information is going to get to us. It's going to be accurate, and it's going to work every time.
Okay.
Now, go ahead.
Sorry to interrupt, Mike. You didn't mean to cut you off.
So in our service world, there's sometimes some very big dollars involved. So we really got to make sure that we're getting the information correctly from them. And that's where this could really come in, more technology, so they could answer some maybe preset questions to help our technician and service advisor get them into the best testing or whatever service they need for their vehicle or services. Yeah.
Now that's interesting. So, Mike, I want to throw out a shout out to Bobby if he's with us from AutoNet TV. We were just talking yesterday. They've got a new API where you can. It seems like I haven't looked through all the documentation, but you can find a keyword, right? Let's say it's I don't know much about actual car repair. Mike, you have to help me out. A spark plug replacement. Okay, let's say that's what it is. Somehow using the API, we could actually, when presenting that OEM maintenance recommendation or that specific of a part, you could use the API and have an explainer video, a 30-second or less for our short attention span explainer video connected to that recommendation. And what do you think, Mike? Doesn't that sound great?
Yeah, AutoNet TV's been awesome with that in that regards for a number of years. And I think some of the bolt-on and Auto Vitals, etc. There's a few of them. They do give you that video that will explain it when you send it on to the customer about what that would look like. But I think that would help the customer understand seeing that video if they're not there to stop to see what's going on with their vehicle exactly. That it would help explain and see a 10-second video of the part, what it does. So AutoNet has always been really good at that.
Yeah, that's great. You brought up those other companies too, because we've kind of touched on this before. It doesn't really matter, perhaps, the tools, right? It's more implementation of the things. And on that note, if you were going to implement any one thing, what do you see as being the most important action or next step that you've seen work, where the advisor's taken that, they're trying to get that next step from the customer? What's the most important one that you just have to knock out?
Well, there's a lot of them, but what I've seen in the last 2 years really working and catching on is getting that next visit of 2 to 3 services for 3 to 4 months down the road of what that looks like, explain to the customer. And what that does is we've got data that shows that the retention level is higher and the frequency of the customer coming in each year is higher as well.
Okay. And what do you define there, Mike, as your key difference in the definition between retention and frequency?
Well, frequency is, I think, an industry average right now is 1.8 times coming in a year.
Okay.
And we're trying to get that to 3. A good number there would be 3 times per year. And then the retention is how many years you can keep that customer over time. Is that 1 year, 2 year, 3 years? And that, again, creating that loyalty. just like a doctor's office would do. You know, you're always scheduling that next appointment because they're booked out for your physical. Same way with the dentist. There's always that next cleaning or whatnot. Well, we need to do that with your next service visit.
Right.
And that catches on when the shops buy into it. They start doing it. We're seeing 60-70% of our customers are making that next appointment with us.
No, it's that high. I mean, and then if we look at the industry average of retention, so I view retention, you know, and I think you've seen it too. I saw it from the dealer side. They're saying retention is the likelihood you'll see that car within the next 12 months. So that is kind of a different number than frequency, right? You're kind of saying, no, not just the likelihood they're coming back maybe one random time. We're talking about how many times are they visiting within that 12 months? It's kind of a deeper number.
Exactly. Yep.
Okay. So what is, in your opinion, Mike, what's the primary cause? Say a shop listened to this webinar, followed your checklist, and maybe I'm not going to go that far. They've seen your checklist, right? They've been coached a little. They've listened to this webinar. What's the primary cause that they can't move that frequency number from 1.8 to 3? What would hold a shop back?
Two things. One being disciplined to work on the processes and have a process and using it 100% of the time, and that discipline to doing it, because we all know we get busy and we skip things. So the more we can be disciplined to using processes, and example, scheduling that next visit, that vehicle delivery process, you know, every customer the same way, being that commitment. And a lot of times we get busy and some of these processes fall off.
Yeah.
And that's what happens. Somebody goes somewhere else.
Okay. So maybe if we viewed it that way, right, that by missing the process, we're just letting our competitor take it.
Exactly. And then there is attrition rate that we all have. People move, buy a brand new car, buy, etc.
Yeah.
But for the most part, the more you follow the processes and are consistent, the more success you will have.
Yeah. And I think, Mike, that's one of the stances that Elite takes that I really appreciate. Of course, being an app developer, I appreciate that Elite says, just use the tools that you have. We're not going to force feed some software on you, right? It's more, here's the list of what you need, so that, like you just said, Mike, some of these things fall away. They don't get done. So I've seen Elite, kind of like you put together in this technology stack. And this is the second checklist, by the way, so you don't have to take notes. We'll make sure this is downloadable in an email after this. But Mike, I like how you put down, it seems like where you were going with this was, the more you can get that process into your stack, the less likely you're going to miss those steps. Was that the motivation behind this?
Exactly. So people can see it on one sheet, the one piece of paper, what you should be doing. So you do have success. And, you know, like, I'm sure it's on one of these, is that the shop owner does a shop evaluation. Well, I think it's the third checklist under the online activity. A review of your monthly performance. Okay. You know, and this is for maybe more marketing, but you should have a review of monthly performance in every area of your business. And have a checklist where you're hitting it monthly. So you're doing the best you can to create that really great customer experience and build your brand through that consistency.
Yeah, I'm seeing, as a lot of yours, Mike, it really, the owner has to be willing to, I mean, we're just talking to shop owners in general, but we have to be willing to fight for our own business and to, you know, sometimes do the nitty gritty, right? The audits, the follow-ups, the maintenance, the tracking. These things are, it always seems to be more on your business than in, right? If we're talking to a customer, we're doing none of these on the business things.
Yeah. Right. You know, one of the biggest hurdles we see as being a coach is to get business owners to stand back and look at their business from a 30,000-foot view.
Right.
And look at some of these areas that they need to review on a monthly basis, and schedule that time. Manage your time. Schedule your time on a weekly, monthly basis to review your processes and have your shop meetings and get things back aligned where you want them to be. Again, it's all things. How do you keep your brand consistent and growing your brand? And it takes that from the shop owner to stand back and look at all these areas on a weekly, monthly basis. Yeah.
That's good, Mike. And one of the other things that you've held my feet to the fire, in fact, because I always want to talk technology, and you always want to bring me back to the ground level and say, Jeremy, personal touch still matters. That's always been, I feel like, a message, just a crystal clear message you've given me. And as that is kind of our closing question with you, Mike. And Mike, I've really kind of given you the floor today. We're going to be left with a few minutes for the vehicle owner survey, but I just feel like you've got so much to offer so thanks for your full time and attention here for our audience. I appreciate that. But kind of closing up with your session here, and I'm going to give a little bit of a freebie we're about to show there, just a section. But Mike, how do you recommend shops keep that personal touch even at a distance, right? It seems like we're getting more and more distance. So how do we still keep it personal?
Well, we do a genuine thank you note.
Okay.
At 24 hours or that evening, 24 hours, write those thank you notes, at least to all our new customers. A lot of times we'll recommend anybody at a certain dollar value of repair, 200, 400. That's a shop owner's choice. But really writing that with a genuine thank you, thank you for your trust and confidence in us. We appreciate you. And then right after that, 24 to 48 hours, do a callback, especially to new customers. And make sure, we just want to thank them for choosing us and their confidence in us. And if they have any questions at that point, short, sweet, we don't want to take a lot of their time up. But that's generally something when we get our clients to start doing that.
Right.
They get the feedback from those customers like, wow, they really do care about them. And that creates that retention, loyalty that we're looking for. And that, again, that can be done at a distance, so no contact.
Yeah. That's why when I saw, I couldn't believe that. I feel like, Mike, you predicted this a little bit. There's still ways to do you could almost call that low tech, right? Just making a personal call, sending a personal postcard. And I think you meant that, right, Mike? An actually handwritten note. Is that what you meant?
Handwritten by the service advisor.
Okay.
And my service advisors were always very conscious of the people that they were working on their car, repairing their car, that they wanted it right. They really cared that customer had the trust in them and that relationship. So they would put something in that note about some of their conversation they may have had, and we'll try and build rapport somehow, either on the phone or if we were in person. Are you taking the vehicle on vacation? Who drives the vehicle the most? And you start getting input from them, and that's what you use in that thank you card. So that helps build a rapport and put that little touch in there.
Yeah. Now, Mike, if a shop doesn't feel like writing their own scripts and they want to see the rest of this form right here, you've offered this as a bonus download. It's a third download, but it's for our audience that reaches out to you. So you still good with that? You still good with that offer, Mike?
Yes.
Okay, so there's a lot more on this checklist. This is just kind of the call out of what could be done from a CRM. Of course, you don't have to use tech for that, as Mike was saying. You can do otherwise. Now, Mike, I'm gonna, on that second point you said, it's gonna transition perfectly into the vehicle owner survey. I couldn't believe what has been said by vehicle owners. A random 100 vehicle owners, actually 80% of them are Generation X or older that responded. So we're going to be looking at 100 random vehicle owners fitting that profile of age or generation, whatever. And to be clear, politically correct, I asked people what they identified as. So I don't actually know the ages, but the identification was Gen X or baby boomers in our survey. And here's where I'm bringing up your second point, Mike. You said callbacks daily within 24 hours. Have you ever asked, or Elite, what a customer prefers and surveyed that?
No, we haven't. Not that I'm aware of. We've just always kind of believed that personal touch built rapport, but no, we haven't done.
Yeah, and Mike, I'm regretting it now, but in our survey we had 3 simple questions. I didn't ask that one, and I wish we did, because I'd like to know that answer and give them a few options. What do you prefer within that 24-hour window? Is it text? Is it app? Right. So I love what you got there, Mike, but I think I might have to slightly, based on what you have, kind of redraft up the survey and give it another round with 100 more people and see what right? Because we're saying callbacks, but maybe it's not, right? Maybe the customers, that's maybe, I mean, and in fact, there's a stat out recently. It says 92% of your follow-up as a small business is considered annoying. That's the current statistic for small businesses. So I'm very interested in that answer. But sorry, I don't have that one, but we've got 3 other exciting questions. And I think the answers to this is going to upset the apple cart in marketing for the next 5 years and beyond. So I'm going to, and before I even get to them, I've got about 8 minutes. I'm going to go real quick. I'm going to blitz through it. So Mike, thanks for giving us the full session. I'm so thankful that we had you on today. And as well, Eric, I see you're back with us. Thank you.
Yeah, I was just turned off my camera, giving Mike the floor there, so that was awesome. Thank you for sharing with us, Mike.
And so I'm going to jump into this, but here's the final warning. Like I said, I think it will upset marketing, because what I hear us talking about as an industry does not fall in line with what vehicle owners told me. I hear us talking about texting. I hear us talking about website appointment forms. I hear us talking about postcards. I hear us talking about VIP member cards, actual physical cards. That's what I hear our industry talking about. And so I said, okay, since I'm such a mobile app ninja, right, the original mobile app ninja, is this even real? Is this real in our industry? And so I set out to ask vehicle owners. We asked them 3 simple questions. Here's the first question. What method would you prefer as the easiest way to keep track of your vehicle repairs and maintenance? And there's a story to be told here. I mean, you can, the number 1 answer, not surprising to me, mobile app, but there's an underlying story in these answers, and I love this story. It's that number 4, digital receipts saved on a computer, is only 11%. I think the underlying story here is that paper, old school paper storage, if you combine those 2 answers, it is 3 to 1 over a PC. Can we just say as a society that? I love that. Yeah. Can we say as a society that the PC might be dead? What's that?
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, I just said I love the fact that receipts stuffed in your glove box outdoes digital receipts on my computer, on my laptop. So.
Yeah, but as we're going to see in each of these answers, it's convenience. It tells me that the PC is no longer considered convenient. Paper beats it, right? That's how dead PC is. And we're going to see that in the next one. Question 2. What method would you prefer as the most convenient way to book an appointment with your local auto repair shop? And again, this is going to speak to, I've got a gut feel on this one. Eric, you touched on it briefly, but we can see mobile app again, overwhelmingly. Actually, half of our customers would prefer if this was a tool we get. I mean, that's stunning to me. Half of the auto repair industry wants a mobile app tool for instant booking, because we've seen it in every other industry. I booked True Green to come put fertilizer on my lawn on an app. I mean, it's everywhere. But again, here's this other story that shows up in this to me. It's that where does that complete a form on the website show up? 4%. And that's back to this PC idea. I could have said their mobile-friendly website. I think it would have changed that answer a bit, right? So to be fair, I think I put it that way on purpose to see if it was the PC that stood out or not. And again, it must be dead. Because, and Mike, we talked about this. I don't think it's so much that people hate the website. To me, it means it's perhaps just how bad of an industry we've been at responding to form requests. Maybe that's what this speaks to. We all have experience of submitting a form and then not hearing back. We feel like it's not instant, it's not convenient, and maybe I'll never even hear back. So I don't know. I'm not going to conclude that the website is dead. I'm not going to go that far. I'm going to say maybe we just need to find a way as an industry to be quicker to respond to things, right? So if you have a website form, respond to it quickly, very quickly. Have a process, and Mike, you'd be good at that, a process for managing those and getting to those quicker, so that if that's all you have is a website and you don't have an app, then be on that and prove to your customers, earn that reputation that you would reply to your website form. Question 3, what method would you prefer as the simplest way to redeem coupons and claim rewards from your local auto repair shop? So I was taking a stab at what would a customer like, just generally speaking, if there were rewards, if there was a membership experience. I was trying to phrase a almost too wordy of a question, but what we arrived at, I think, again, is telling. It's that even old school, just in this case, printing something, seemed to be maybe better. I mean, if we're looking at that as number 2, but it only came in at 9%, so they wanted to print it rather than show the website at the shop. I thought maybe that would appear, that someone would say, well, I'm just going to turn my phone around and show the website coupon, but it was actually printed. So up number 1, though, and I think we're being taught this. It's not, I don't think our industry is doing this, so it's not coming from our industry. It's coming from the top 100 brands in our society. Just 5 years ago, so if we looked at the top 100, Starbucks, Macy's, Netflix, and, just retail consumer brands, 5 years ago, less than 24% of them had an app. Today, it's almost at 85%. So in a 4-year window as a society, the big brands are teaching consumers that an app is where it's at. It's where you're going to get better service, more perks, more conveniences. Get our app. And we see it. And they've kind of removed it from, say, the TV advertising. You don't even hear about, download our app. That's kind of gone away. But every single touch point with the customer is pushing you to get the app. We're being taught that so I think that's where these answers came from, because for sure, vehicle owners aren't saying, oh yeah, I love presenting my mobile app at my local shop, because we don't have, our industry, by my last report, sits at less than 1% of us with our own mobile app. So if this is the overwhelming majority that vehicle owners are saying, to me it stands out that it's not what we've taught them, it's what retail is teaching them, it's what consumers are learning. And so now it's up to us to say, okay, are we going to be a part of that? Are we going to respond to that percentage? And it's overwhelming. So I've got a bonus question, though, and this is just to be hopeful with our last 60 seconds. It's that don't give up hope, because our industry, we get a lot of grace from our customers. Even though we have what I think are those instant booking mobile app style tools, the average rating met expectations, came in at 6.1. So that to me is encouraging, and that's just speaks to the great work being done by texting software companies, people that want to text, or maybe the great scripts that you provide, Mike. I think we're meeting expectations. We really are. So now this is about, the way I see the survey is, okay, do we want to go beyond that? Do we want our number at our shop to be 9? And what would it take to get there? So I wanted us to leave us with hope on that. And Mike, I put this back here. I believe it comes through having what I call a customer engagement loyalty ladder. And you called it a customer retention preference scale, but it's have something that takes your customer from that first impression, first visit, that drives them up your ladder, that gets them in with preferences that they're proving to themselves, because you've earned it, that they want to come back. So have that in place. Have some preference scale, some ladder. Get it fired up in your shop. And like you said, Mike, right? Follow through, implement.
Exactly.
Yeah. And so on that note, if you want Mike's, we're actually closing up here. So if you want Mike's, his bonus download, reach out to Mike. There's his cell phone and his email. That'll be included in the email going out. So Mike, you're going to get some people reaching out to you for that. And if you need coaching advice, just get a friendly conversation going with Mike. And of course, if you are looking for meeting the percentages and going above the 6.1, consider an app. We've made it easy here at AppFueled. That's what we've been doing the last few years. Thanks for joining the final session. I've got some exciting news coming that we're going to have a 4-part series from SEO. It's really just going to be all about SEO boosting traffic. We're going to have some guest speakers that come from SEO agencies that will line us up with some real tips, geofencing, pay-per-click ads, and the secrets behind that. So we're going to give them the floor. Stay tuned for when those dates and speakers are. For now, it's Jeremy Glassco checking out. Thanks, Mike. Thanks, Eric. Thanks to all of you listening.
Yeah.
Bye.